Hi, friends. Welcome to
Hi.
Take 3 Talks. Part 1, Episode 1 is here. I'm Estefi, and I'm going to be your host. And I'm here with Meijun, my co-host. But I'm going to start by telling you just a little bit about me. Hopefully, I get this done in 3 seconds or less. So let's get to this, okay? I am Estefi. I was born and raised in Ecuador. I love cooking, but I can never follow a recipe. I love podcasts, and this is 100% my dream. I love reading, and the pandemic made me an avid YouTube watcher. So that's a little bit about me, and now I'm going to get Meijun to tell you a little bit about him, hopefully in less than 3 seconds.
Maybe we'll be here for longer than that. But hello, my name is Meijun. I use this icebreaker all the time. Everyone knows it's like May, June, July, August. So that's how you pronounce my name. I was born in China, raised in Jamaica, and I currently can speak up to 5 languages.
Wow.
I can speak English, patois, a little bit of Spanish. I can speak my native Chinese language, Hakka, and I can survive in Cantonese.
Survive is very much, guys, survival mode. Like, he can ask for a toilet.
I think I can ask for a toilet, and I can say that I'm hungry.
But you would say that you are more fluent in Spanish than you are in Cantonese.
So much more confident in Spanish.
And
100%.
you do not speak Mandarin.
No, Mandarin, no. I completely forgot Mandarin. I'm also Chinese illiterate for you guys, all of you to know.
Wow, amazing.
So yeah, I think I'm more Spanish and Latino than Chinese. I'm also a table tennis player.
Yes.
And I love food. Food is so much of my culture, and I just love like everything surrounding food.
Yeah.
And I'm a dog dad.
Yeah, amazing. So let's start a little bit at the beginning and give them just a little bit of an idea of how we got here, right? We were both living in our home countries. You were living in Jamaica. I was living in Ecuador. And in 2011, we both moved to Utica, New York.
Yes.
Right? And out of all the places in the whole wide world, that's the one place that we met.
We ended up in upstate New York.
So the physical location is in Utica. But before skipping ahead and getting cheesy and telling everybody how we met, tell me, Meijun, did you always know you wanted to be an art director in advertising or an artist per se? Did you always know, or
I think that there's always been this feeling that I would end up in art, but it was never a sure thing for me. I remember very vividly when I was growing up in China. I remember that my grandpa would always get me these coloring books, and I would literally color every single page, and then my grandpa would help me to put them up on the wall. So that was, and I don't remember things much, but that's always been a vivid memory. And from there, I kind of had an idea that I really wanted to get into art, whatever that meant.
Wow,
right?
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Because you actually, in like a quick tangent, in college, you had all of your walls were also, with all of your art.
100%.
Like every single project has always been up on art. Even when we first moved in together, that was most of our art. We kind of made art pieces for our walls.
That's very true.
Yeah. So that's amazing. I definitely relate to that story a lot. A little bit quickly about how I got into design and if I even ever thought that I was going to be in design. Without boring you guys too much, is I never thought I was going to be in design. I was actually going to be a lawyer for my whole life. My whole family is full of lawyers, so I thought that was where I was going to go until senior year of high school. And I decided to be in graphic design because I could convince people to do things by doing something visually, and I thought that was the closest artistic thing to lawyers.
Yeah.
So that was my view into graphic design. I did not know anything going into Pratt, really. Just I knew photography, and that was my passion, and I went in hard with that passion even as a graphic designer. I'm a very visual person. So, yeah.
That's quite interesting. I just wanted to touch upon the whole, convincing people aspect, because art and design, it's all about communication, right? Between,
totally.
Humans, and you want to bring across a message. And I thought that's quite interesting because you love doing that. I can just envision it. Yeah.
And I love debating people. That's
You
a
love
fact.
debating people.
Yeah. I am, what is that? The Enneagram?
The Enneagram. You are not a peacemaker. You are a
I'm
challenger.
a challenger. Yes.
So we're complete opposites, guys.
Yeah.
I'm the peacemaker and Steffi's the challenger.
Yeah.
But that's how it works. You kind of balance each other out.
Yeah. You're the yin to my yang.
You are.
So without skipping ahead too much and like kind of keeping us on track, I want you to tell them a little bit about your restaurant story, the SCAD coincidence, and how you ended up at Pratt basically. And then we'll just get it started. Where did we meet? Who kissed who and whatever.
We'll get into those juicy
details. Let's
details.
get into Pratt first.
Yeah, let's do that, because people have to know how we actually ended up being friends, right?
Exactly.
It was one of the craziest, it's the most mundane, but one of the craziest things that's ever happened to me that made me really think, wow, things really do happen for a reason. So I've always thought, during high school, I always knew that I was going to do art at some point. So I, looked at my options personally, and then I found that SCAD had a Hong Kong campus. So
wow, that's amazing. Yeah. And for the people that don't know, of course, a lot of your family lives in Hong Kong.
Yes.
So that's something that's close to your heart.
Exactly. I knew that I would feel comfortable there because I had family. So I already set my mind on going to SCAD, Savannah College of Art and Design, in Hong Kong.
Amazing.
So I did not look into any other options for colleges after high school. But before that, I was recommended a
college counselor.
Exactly. A college counselor that knew everything about the schools and art schools in the United States.
Yeah, she was a focused college counselor in art and design schools.
100%. And because I wanted to go to Hong Kong already, I decided to not even try that and give it a shot. And then one night out of the blue, my parents were like, hey, there's this new restaurant. We should go have dinner there. When we got to the restaurant, here's the funniest part. Right beside the restaurant was this college counselor's office.
Wow.
I walked past it, and then I just had to stop and go in because it felt like it was calling me. Yeah,
exactly.
I was like, the coincidence was too much.
Mm-hmm.
I went in, I talked to her, and I told her my story, and then she completely just gave me recommendations there and then, hey, you need to maybe not consider going to SCAD in Hong Kong for accreditation purposes. But here are some schools that you should look into. Yeah,
and one of them was Pratt.
One of them were Pratt.
And what's funny is that, just a quick tangent, that I got into Pratt basically also as well through SCAD, but through Savannah College of Art and Design in Atlanta, because at the same time, so this was for you, this was 2010.
This was 2010.
Yeah.
Yes.
So for me in 2010, I was participating in the Savannah College of Art and Design photography challenge.
Wow, that's wild.
Right? And then I won the photo cover for the challenge, and I was the only international that actually won. So Savannah paid for me to go to Atlanta with my mom. We ended up visiting Pratt in that trip, and that's when I ended up signing my papers and saying, yes, I'm going to go to Utica, because just like you, I had applied to Pratt and checked a box that said, hey, also send my application to Utica, to the Pratt Munson Williams Proctor campus. Mm-hmm. So why did we choose Utica over Brooklyn for the first 2 years? I think we both have a very similar explanation, and it's that going to a smaller campus helped us a lot.
Yes, 100%. There was just so much more focus because we got the ratio from students to teachers. It was way lower.
Exactly.
We had
it was 10, 15 students per class, and we had classes for 6 hours, right? So it was super focused, but also in terms of a culture shock, it was a lot less, kind of, because we were in a campus that was 200 people max. That's with professors, So it was a really tight community, a really fun place. Everybody knew each other. It was really easy to make friends. We were all super tight, and that's really why we became best friends. So it was in Utica, it was the summer. It was August 22nd-ish, right?
2011.
2011. And I had already been there because it was international orientation, and you got there the last day.
I was the last international to set foot onto Utica.
Exactly. And you were 20 years old.
Yes.
I was 17 years old. And we were in Utica, New York, because it was amazing. And you get a really good scholarship.
We both got really good scholarships.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's why we were there. And we happened to live across the floor from each other. So we were in the same dorm, in the same college dorm, in the third floor.
Coincidentally.
Exactly. Coincidentally. I don't really remember meeting you, like, just like then, you know? I like remember seeing you, but not really like meeting you, you know? Like,
you know, that's funny. I don't remember that either. I remember stepping into the, even like before we got assigned our dorms, when we had our international, basically our orientation, right? I was the last one in, and I remember seeing you for the first time, and I'm like, wow, like, I feel so lucky being here right now. And the funny story about this is that the way I introduced myself, right? When the admissions director was like, hey, can you introduce yourself?
Oh my God, I need to tell this story. So how we really interchanged names. So we were in international orientation. We were in our communications design classroom, and it was in a circle. We were doing, you know, all of international orientation things. You know, what's your name? Where are you from? What is your major? Why are you here? And why do you hope to be friends with, right? So we were there, and we had all gone, and then Meijun's chance. So he gets up and goes into the middle of the circle. He's like, hi guys, my name is Michael. Yeah, you guys heard that right. His name was Michael. So Francie, international admissions director, she goes, is that, you know, your mate, like your birth name? And he goes, no, that's just my name. That's just what I go by.
Yeah.
And she goes, what's your real name? And he goes, oh, it's Meijun. And she goes, okay, so that's what we're going to call you from now on. So
Meijun was born August 22nd, 2011. But just a quick story. I got to explain myself, right? But Michael.
Because how do we know you as Meijun now and then Michael then?
So my life in Jamaica, like when I moved to Jamaica, we were told that, it's easier for us as, internationals and as Chinese to get, assimilated
into the culture
by just having a nickname or a name that's easier to pronounce.
Exactly.
So mine was Michael. And I, the moment I landed in Jamaica, I was called Michael. And I just went by that. Like, even when we go to Jamaica now, all my high school friends, even my parents sometimes call me Michael.
No. Literally, the first time I went to Jamaica, Meijun's parents go, hi, do you know where Michael is? And I was like, I'm like, who is Michael? I'm like, Michael? I don't know. And I was like, oh, wait, Meijun. And then they go, yeah, Meijun.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, he's Michael everywhere. He changed his Facebook name and everything. Yeah. Well, to skip you guys ahead a little bit, freshman year, I had a boyfriend, so there was nothing happening between us. We were really good friends. Like, Meijun was so friend-zoned. Like, we can't even, like, kind of explain to you. Like, we would go shopping together. You would always bring us gifts, and, like, we would text, and I would tell you all about my troubles.
I would
and
always be in a good mood around you guys.
You would, like, check my homework. Like, literally, like, we were such best friends that it was kind of obnoxious.
Yeah, I was 100% friend zoned. I was the epitome of friend zone.
Yeah, there was no getting out of it.
No.
So then sophomore year happened. So that was freshman year. So that was now sophomore year is 2012. I am 18 years old. I'm going to turn 19, and then you are 21, right? So we're going to turn in sophomore year. I had broken up with my boyfriend at the time, and there was just nothing. I was just a heartbroken girl. So we would get together and order Chinese food and sing karaoke songs of Antología, Shakira.
I remember those days.
And Meijun would just be like my crying buddy. He would not cry. Like he would just hug me.
I'll just watch her. I'll just watch her cry, and kind of just make sure she's okay.
He's like a stalker. I'll just watch her cry. But yeah, so that's basically how our friendship really evolved, and we were friends with everybody. Everybody was friends with everybody. We would always go out. We were always together. We had almost all the classes, the same, except for a few electives, I would say. So we were really tight. And then one night in sophomore year, we were, drinking and stuff, but we were watching movies. Nothing crazy. And we were just there, and someone asked, who made the first move? And I am surprised and honored to tell you that I made the first move both and every single time.
Estefi first move Ramirez.
Yes. So I kissed him. We were sitting, and we just kissed, and I'm not going to go into details, but yeah, we just kissed, and it was really I think
it was honest
and like super like
harmless.
We were really harmless.
Yeah.
That's a good word. It was really harmless, and I was like, oh, like shit, like we shouldn't do this. And that's kind of when it all like
got muddy.
Happened, but we said like, we can never tell anybody about this. This is our secret. Like nobody can know, because like
we're taking this to the grave.
Exactly. Like this is going to really mess up our friendships, because we were in the same friend groups, and like,
it just would have complicated a lot of things.
And when you tell people expect things from you. I really didn't want to be in a relationship. You didn't want to be in a relationship either. We were both mingling and like living our best lives.
Yeah, we were just exploring.
Exactly. We were exploring, and we were young, and both of us were international. We were not trying to fall in love with an international, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We're trying to fall in love with an American. Fingers crossed.
Okay.
Hashtag immigrant life.
Exactly.
But no, so that was sophomore year, and it was really harmless, and we would see each other, and sometimes we would make out, and we were friends with benefits. But it was, again, really harmless. Nothing ever
and there were
happened.
no strings were attached or anything
at all.
We were still like hanging out with other people, and
we
stuff.
were still very much friends first.
Yeah, 100%.
So
but then I think after a little while, I felt really strong emotions for you, like stronger and stronger after each incident. And then whenever we stopped, like I would get very, very heartbroken. So that kind of happened that's when it got really complicated, right?
Because just to give people some background, you had never had a girlfriend.
I never had a real girlfriend, no. Yeah.
So like I'm your first official girlfriend, let's say.
Yes.
So this was like also very new to you.
Yeah, it was.
It
was really, really new. Like
the mingling and the friends with benefits part of all of it was very weird and muddy for you.
Yeah, it was because I would say, even though I was 21, I was quite young in my like I guess emotions.
Yeah,
I would say.
Yeah.
But like being with you and as friends with benefits, I learned a lot about what I wanted, and
because we were always very respectful of each other. We were both very respectful, and there was a question that I would love for us to get into. That is, when we moved from sophomore year to junior year, things started to change. You started to mature a little bit. You started to kind of delve into, your masculinity, into like, you're an adult now, like you would go on trips with friends, and like, you guys went to Puerto Rico together, and like, we were really just like more adults, right?
I started to live
life
more independently, because
we were working too.
I didn't have that in Jamaica as much.
Exactly.
The independence of going anywhere and doing what I wanted. So college was kind of like the first experience that I had where I could make my own decisions and not have to worry about what my parents thought.
So in Utica, we graduate in sophomore year, and then we moved to junior year in 2013.
Yep.
And we get to Brooklyn. So Brooklyn, New York, the Brooklyn that everybody really knows and travels to, and it's amazing. And junior year was wild. and it was amazing. And it was really when I think you really got to independently live and explore, and we would have different groups of friends, and we would work hard and we would play hard. We both had internships. Like I was babysitting, I was like dog sitting and cat sitting, and it was like wild, right? But a question that I had was, how was our dynamic? Like if you were to be able to like kind of like touch into and tell people a little bit about how was our dynamic in college, like keeping everything a secret, being friends with benefits, still being really good friends. Like we were there for each other. Like not like we were friends with benefits and we would have like stints of jealousy. Not at all. Like I think if we did have any stints of jealousy, it was always kind of like on a very flirtatious way.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
and
that's
it was
very true.
always very like, for example, it was flirtatious. It was never like, you shouldn't do that, you know, or you should, or like my feelings are getting hurt.
We didn't make the other person feel bad about what we independently did.
Exactly, because we were very much adults. So I think if I was to describe our dynamic in college, I would really say, like, from my perspective, and you can tell them your perspective. I think for mine, it was having a friend, like my best friend, like the person that I knew was going to literally cheerlead me, like, to my grave, you know, because you were the person that would show up, you know, no matter where, what, when, who, you know, you showed up, you pulled through, always. And it was having that person, and also when you are, you know, when you are in college and you're in art school and you don't sleep a lot and, you know, you're working together all the time, it's so nice having that person you trust so much, just being able to like have those extra benefits of like, you know, just having someone to really hug or like take a nap with, or like, you know, because we were very innocent. Nothing hardcore ever really happened between us until we decided to really date, you know, until things got really serious, which is what senior year. But that would be my way of explaining our dynamic. It's just super respectful and innocent and flirtatious and best friends really being there for each other.
Yeah, no, I think that, you know, I agree with everything you just said there. And just to add to and piggyback on is that for me, from my perspective, like you were one of my best friends that I trusted 100%. I didn't feel like, you know, you would judge me for any reason, for anything at all. And we had a lot of firsts together. You know, I wasn't a big drinker, so you were the first person I got drunk with.
Yeah.
You took care of me.
I carried him home and then ate all his food.
Literally. So beware. And yeah, it was just a lot. There was a lot of like first experiences with you. You know, first time dancing bachata. The first one that taught me salsa. The first one that, you know, pushed me out of my comfort zone. And I think that we really developed over time a very strong trust for each other, a lot of respect, and a lot of just showing up, right, for each other when we needed.
Yeah.
I would always remember, like, you were very caring as a person, and that really, like, you know, hit home for me. But yeah, so in terms of our dynamic, yeah, as you said, it was very, very respectful. We were best friends with benefits, and we would just be there for each other no matter what. Fun. It was so fun.
So, okay, so everything has been really kind of, you know, green grass and flowers, and nothing has been really complicated, and we've been kind of good at, you know, being mature about all of this. But there was a point where things got tricky and we didn't really like each other, and we were going through a phase where, you know, we were not really fond of each other, and that was the summer of junior into senior year. And, you know, I was living in an apartment, you know, with other roommates that I didn't know, and I was working at Pratt. You were also working at Pratt, but you were living in ELJ, which is a dorm, and you were also working at Rocket Dog, which was another advertising agency. I was only working at Pratt summer program, you know. And yeah, I think that was the only time that I would say between in our friendship that summer that we were both kind of like fed up with each other.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think we were fed up with each other. I think we were just hurt or confused.
Yeah, I think
Um,
we were both done with being confused.
yeah, I agree. Yeah, because for me specifically, and as I mentioned before, I started to develop really, really strong feelings for you, and I wanted more than just the friends with benefits, but that didn't seem like a possibility. So I started to, as I got hurt, you know, time and time again, I started to kind of back away a little bit because as actually you're right. I started to get fed up that this is happening,
Yeah.
you know?
And you started dating, and I was like fed up. I was like, I'm not gonna form another relationship, on like secrets and all this stuff. And I was like, this is complex, and you're my best friend, and we both knew there was a due date on this. Like we knew for a fact that we were not going to be together.
Yeah.
So it was fun to explore, but sometimes it got complicated, and we were just like kind of done. So that summer you were really like, I think this was when you were like,
This was in 2014.
exactly,
Yeah.
when you were really, really hot. Let's say that. And you were really hot.
Thank you.
And you were super sure of yourself, and you had all your guy friends and your girlfriends and your little
Like friends that are girls.
and your girl friends, and also the ones that you had benefits with. So I think it was really fun, and it was a time where you were dealing with your stuff, I was dealing with my stuff, but we would still be there for each other, for classes, for projects. We would work together and that stuff, but we just not spent time together. During summer. We would see each other maybe in those Fridays, but we were just done. So that summer from 2014 to 2015, school year 2015, which was like our senior year, was kind of rocky.
Yeah, it was.
But then we moved in to the dorms again because the fall semester started, and this was 2014 fall,
2015.
exactly, of senior year. And this is really the climax of the story. Because this is when senior year was when I really realized that I had fallen in love with you. Senior year was the year that I was like, oh wow, like, I don't think I can continue to play this game and not be really involved, because I had been really good at that. I like keeping those things like kind of separate. But the first semester of senior year, we were very involved. I think things got very serious between us. Nobody else knew. So like,
it was still a secret.
All of our friends thought we were still friends, but we knew that we were very kind of serious with each other, but we still thought that December was our deadline.
Yeah,
because that was the end of the semester.
We were still living in this kind of like paradise of, let's just go with it without really thinking of the timeline.
Let's just really feel the feelings, and let's not worry about it.
Yeah,
just
exactly.
yet.
So we kind of did that, and it was great. I really, really, enjoyed spending that time with you, because I learned so much more about you, just on a way deeper level than we did before. And that kind of showed like, wow, like we can really, really, really dig deep together as a couple, as, if we were in a relationship. That's what I was thinking about it.
Yeah.
I was like, whenever I think about you, I never really like doubted the fact that if you were to ask me like, hey, do you want to be boyfriend, girlfriend? I would not hesitate at all to say no, to say yes. I'm sorry. I would not.
That's basically what he did, guys.
Oh my God. Okay.
Shortcut.
I'm like blushing right now. But senior year was when we really got like, serious about this shit.
Yeah. But then December came, and we just decided that, okay, again, we were kind of done with this. We were not going to do this. You went to Jamaica and came to Ecuador, and it was our last winter break of senior year. And then we came back, and I asked you to build a snowman with me. And this was the moment that I realized, I was like, oh, this semester is going to be different. So I came back to Pratt, and you were, of course, there for me because it was a very tough time for me. But you were also making it very clear that that was a friendship that you were offering and not a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And something that I was really good at doing was kind of involving you in things or going to visit you to do homework, and then suddenly, like, you know, would end up watching shows together or like having a date basically.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I want to know, like, so I invited you to make a snowman and you sent a text and you were like, no, sorry, I'm busy. And I was like, oh man, like he's not coming to build a snowman with me.
Yeah. I think, as you said, I was just trying to make a clear statement that, hey, like you can't just, you know, call me or shine the Batman light and I'm going to show up whenever you wanted. Right.
Yeah.
Because I was hurting.
Yeah.
Because.
And I didn't know this. We had never talked about this. We never
really talked about this much, but I was hurting. So I was trying to make it clear that, you know, I want to hurt you back by, you know, not tending to your every
and I don't even
requests.
think you were thinking of hurting me back, because I don't think Meijun even thinks about hurting people.
Okay.
I think you were trying to draw a line in the sand.
Yeah.
And being like, I'm not going to get manipulated into this again another semester.
I was kind of using reverse psychology on you
also,
in a way.
You know, you've mentioned this before and you said, you know, it was also very important for me to take this seriously because we were going out and getting our visas, like we were graduating, like, you know, college time was kind of over. We were all thinking about where are we going to apply, what are the jobs that we're going to get for our OPTs and our visas. So it was serious times now, you know? So the snowman story happens and I realize I'm falling in love with him, right? I'm sitting outside of one of our dorms and it's the middle of winter and I'm literally freezing. And this was probably a few weeks after the snowman story. And I'm freezing. And see one of our friends and I'm like, hey, you know, is Meijun coming back anytime soon? Because you were having an RA meeting and it was a resident advisor meeting. And he was like, oh no, he stayed at Willoughby, which was one of the other dorms. And I was like, oh man, like, you know, he's not coming. And I was like really sad, you know? And then I texted you and I was like, hey, you know, are you coming back to Willoughby? Are you coming back to ELJ by any chance? And he was like, no, I'm in Willoughby and I'm really busy doing work.
Yeah. I was just trying to be as cold and clear with you as possible that, you know, hey, like you can't just, you know, call me out like that.
Exactly. And on the other side, I was like, oh man, you know, like, I think I fall in love with this guy. Like, why am I out here waiting to see him? I haven't seen him all day and I'm like missing him and I was making excuses and all that stuff. So yeah, that was that time I realized I had fallen in love with you. And then a few months happen and pass by and we're all really crammed in our thesis projects and we don't have time for this stuff, right? So 5 days before graduation, this is where we are in the timeline right now. And this is when I told you I was in love with you. Yeah.
I remember vividly.
We were at a party and you can tell the story if you want.
Yeah. We were on the roof of one of our friends' apartments and it was, the graduation, the party right before graduation. And, you know, we were there hanging out and then all of a sudden you pull me aside.
Yeah, it was like the middle of the night.
We were far away from everyone else. And you told me, hey, I think I love you.
Hey, I think I fell in love with you.
Hey, I think I fell in love with you. And when I heard that, I don't know if I heard it correctly or...
And listen to what he replied to me.
It did not process for me because this was something that I was kind of pushing away for so long.
He's making excuses to not tell you
I
what he
gotta tee it up. When she said that to me, I did not know what to say. And my response was, I don't know. I gotta think about it. Oh my God. I cannot believe I said that out loud.
So yeah, it was the middle of the night and we were in New York and it was the New York background and it was amazing. And I had just told my friends, like, I was so nervous to tell him. And it was like, you know, in middle school when you're like, really like that boy and you want to ask them out to like whatever. It was like those nervous. And then Meijun goes, I don't know. I have to think about it. So that happens. And then we couldn't kiss or anything. We hugged really tight. And, you know, you did after that, you did say, I love you too. But we didn't really say anything. We didn't kiss or anything because we were with our friends and it was a secret. So the next day I post a photo on Instagram of a Polaroid
Mm-hmm.
that we took together the other night, and it was basically, it was kind of a hint. It was kind of like the
Like you're
Batman
waiting
sign
for
to
me
you
for a response.
that I'm waiting for you. Exactly. And it was the moment that I was like, I'm waiting for you to make a move. I've made my move and it's kind of on your court. And then we were texting and it was a lot more flirtatious than normal. And then I went to see you at your dorm because by this point I was already living in my apartment that I was going to move into after I graduated with my roommate. So I go to see you in your dorm and we did a pros and cons list of why we should be together.
Yeah, literally.
And
it was just so much writing on it, and we felt so much pressure. It was like, I can't believe we like did that. But
no,
it was,
because there was a lot of cultural issues that we
Yeah.
were looking at, a lot of differences, and we had the visa that we had worked so
true.
hard, and our families and our friends, and like all of the fact that we were gonna be in a relationship and we may not get a visa, and like, let's be honest, like we didn't want to be in love with another international,
that's very
especially
true.
going into a lottery visa. So there was a lot writing on it, like you said. So we went with it and we kind of just said, maybe we'll try just to give it a chance. There were more pros and cons. And we wanted to give it as a moment. Like if there was a moment to try it out, this was going to be the moment. So we went with it and we just said, okay, let's not tell our parents just yet or anything. Let's just tell our close friends and let's hold hands in campus. That's like the max we'll do. Let's hold hands in campus and see how we feel. So we were testing out
Baby
the
steps.
pool,
Baby steps.
And we saw David and we told our friends that
Yeah,
we were
just
dating.
Yeah, right after that day that we decided to, hey, let's give it a try, which was May 5th. 2015. We were like, okay, let's start telling a few of our people, right? And that's what we just started telling people one at a time, and it just started to feel more comfortable and more real as we told someone else, you know? And
exactly.
we were less nervous because we were so worried about what other people would have thought, right?
Or what our friends would think.
Yeah.
I think that was the hardest
What
thing.
our friends would have, exactly.
Because we didn't want to ruin the friends. Like we didn't want to be those friends that end up dating.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was basically how we told people and we went with it. We told our parents actually in graduation. Our parents basically told us like, we know that you guys are dating. Like, why don't you just tell us?
Steffi would still be denying it. Like, no, what are you talking about?
And then my parents were like, okay, you guys are dating. Just like,
it's
tell
so
us.
clear. Yeah.
And we told our parents and everybody loved it and everybody was super supportive and it was amazing. But then our OPT started. I was living by myself. You were living, with someone else. And we would always see each other and we would literally go to coffee shops every single day that summer after we graduated to just apply for jobs and look for internships and see if someone would take us as an OPT student. For the people who don't know, that's, when you're looking for an internship for someone to sponsor your visa, and it's always feeling like you're not good enough. It's this process of a lot of hearing rejections.
Yeah, it was really tough because of the baggage of needing a visa in the end, right?
And it was really tough for the two of us in a fresh relationship.
It was really hard, but at the same time, it was the best thing that could have happened because we were able to kind of be there for each other during those times of doubt of like, oh my God, I just got rejected again. But we were there to push each other. And as you said, every single day, our job was to try to find a job that would trust us enough to give us a shot to even see if they could even help us with the visa. So there were so many hurdles.
And a lot of people would just say like, no, you're international, you can't do this. But like Meijun said, I think something that was really important and it has always been the underlying thing is that we're there to push each other. For we continued that story and think until August or so of going to coffee shops and applying, and then we both kind of find internships, and I pushed you to apply to your internship at 10th Wave, which ends up being the place that sponsored your visa. And we'll go into those details in the next episode for everybody here because this episode is almost over. But, you know, I pushed you to really start at 10th Wave, and you pushed me to quit my job and try and find another one.
Mm-hmm.
And when I did find Razorfish, which was the place that I ended up working at and that sponsored my visa, you were the one that pushed me to believe in myself and think that I could convince them in 2 weeks that I was worth it.
Mm-hmm.
So that has been our secret sauce, I think, of how we met, how we got out of the friend zone, and the underlying thing in our relationship is that we're there always to believe in each other,
And show up for each other,
push each other, and most importantly, hold each other accountable. And that's what we're doing now. We, in this August 22nd, it'll be 10 years of our friendship, and May 5th of this month, when you guys will be hearing this, it will be our 6-year anniversary. So we're here, and you know, in 2015 is really when we got our visa life started, and when everything really happened, and we got our jobs, and we lived in New York, and we were a couple. And after that, we adopted Guillermo, and you'll get to know all of these details in the next episode. And I can't wait to bring you guys along. I really hope that you enjoyed making this episode, Meijun.
Yeah, I love reminiscing about the past and kind of reliving it a little bit. So it was a beautiful conversation. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming. And for everybody, we're actually going to be posting a little visual accompaniment to this episode on our Instagram and any other platforms. We'll be telling you then. We have a lot of things coming for Take 3 Studio and for us this coming months. So we can't wait to take you all along. Don't forget to, you know, give us a review if you guys did like this. We know that this is going to be a new way for you guys to get to know us and for us to get to know you more and everything that we do and what we believe in. And yeah, can't wait for you guys to hear part 1 and then part 2 and 3 about our story. So thank you so much for coming. Thank you, Meijun, for showing up for me one more time.
Thank you so much.
And
yeah, thank you for listening, everyone.
Have an amazing day or night, and we hope you guys enjoyed this. Bye.
Ciao.